happened when you got outside that exit door?
When I got outside the exit door, the paramedics were starting triage, and so I went and sat against the wall, awaiting my color to be told how serious my injuries were.
Did the paramedics give you guys different colors depending on the severity of your injuries that evening?
Yes, they did.
Were you able to observe your injuries at that point in time?
I was able to observe the injury to my hand, and then I still just felt pain in my knee and my arm.
What did you notice about your hand at that point in time?
My fingers looked like they'd been put through a garbage disposal.
What else did you recognize about your fingers at that point in time? Were they dangling or were they?
Yeah, they were just dangling by skin. There was no bone or anything left on my fingers.
At some point in time, did you get some medical treatment?
Yes, I did.
All right, so what happened for you to get medical treatment that night?
There was a police car that pulled up, and they had put me in the front seat, in the passenger seat, and then they had pulled another injured victim in the back seat and drove us to ambulances.
Did you know the victim who was placed in the back seat of that vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Who was that?
That was Christina Blosch.
Is she one of your coworkers from Red Robin?
Yes.
What happened after you got into that police car?
We drove down the grass behind the movie theater, and we found a row of ambulances. I was then placed in one ambulance, and Christina Blosch was placed in another ambulance.
Were there any other victims in the ambulance you were placed in?
Yes, there was one other lady with an injury to her leg.
What hospital were you taken to?
I was taken to Denver Health.
What happened when you got to Denver Health?
When I got to Denver Health, they had started IVs and everything. They took me to do x-rays and admitted me into the ER.
Did you have surgery when you were at Denver Health?
Yes, I did.
All right, what did you have surgery for?
I had buckshot removed from my left knee, and I had my fingers amputated.
Did you have any other buckshot to your body as well?
I had a gunshot wound that went in my forearm that went just in and out, straight through.
All right, Your Honor, if I may approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 2027, 2009, 2028.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Snyder, do you recognize the person photographed in People's Exhibit 2027?
Yes, I do.
Who is that person?
That would be myself.
Does that picture fairly and accurately represent what you look like on July 20th of 2012 when you were at the hospital?
Yes, it does.
All right, if you could turn next to what's been marked as People's Exhibit 2009.
Okay.
All right, what's depicted in that photograph?
That is a photograph of my leg where I had been hit with the buckshot.
Does that fairly and accurately represent your injuries on July 20th of 2012?
Yes, it does.
And then if you could turn to People's Exhibit 2028. Right, and what does that picture depict?
That is my arm wrapped up in like a soft cast.
Right, and was that from the amputation of your fingers?
Yes, it was.
All right, Your Honor, at this, and does that fairly and accurately represent what you look like on July 20th of 2012?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, at this time I would move for the admission of People's Exhibits 2027, 2009, and 2028.
Is there any objection, Mr. King?
Judge, I believe all three of these exhibits were subject to pretrial litigation, and I would renew our objections in that regard. To the extent that any of them are not, I would object under Rule 403.
Okay, thank you. Can I see those, please?
Of course.
It appears that P-TR-2027 was subject of amended order D-98B. And so I stand by my ruling with respect to that photograph. And so that photograph is omitted and may be published. P-TR-2028 and 2009 were not subject to a previous ruling. And the Rule 403 objections with respect to those two photographs are overruled because I find that the probative value of each photograph is not substantially outweighed by any of the concerns listed in Rule 403. So both of those are omitted and may be published.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could please have People's Exhibits 2027. Okay, Ms. Snyder, is this a picture of you at the hospital on July 20th of 2012?
Yes, it is.
All right. If I could please have People's Exhibit 2009. And a picture of the injuries you sustained to your leg on July 20th of 2012.
Yes, it is.
If I could have People's Exhibit 2028. And that's a picture of your hand bandaged up after your amputation.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder, at this time I'm going to ask you to raise your hand as high as you can to show the jury your fingers and your injuries. All right, and thank you very much. If the record could reflect that Ms. Snyder just raised her right hand to show the jury her amputated fingers. And could you tell the jury what fingers those are?
It would be my index finger and my middle finger of my right hand.
Do you have any lasting injuries that still affect you today, Ms. Snyder?
Occasionally I will have what they call phantom pains, where it feels as if my fingers are still there and cause me to drop things or spill them as trying to grab them.